welcome to another episode of the Block. My name is DeVon Wilson. I'm here with my partner Darnell Kirkland Jr. How you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm good, good as always. My mom retired on Thursday, so they having a little get together for her over here in a couple of hours or so. So I'm just getting this stuff out the way early. But yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, the retirement is a good thing. So the pops don't retire, mom don't retire. Oh, you might they probably gonna head to the sunny side of the world. Probably at some point you gonna have to just
Yeah,
wave them goodbye. But that's always good. That tells us that it's all possible. I know you early in your career. Uh, well, speaking of retirement, we got the curtain call. We got the curtain call today for Coach K and Cameron Indoor. The crazies are going. Everybody is making their way down to Durham as Coach K says goodbye in his final basketball game. As obviously they're gonna have more basketball to play and try and make a run for a championship in his final run, but for many people, it's just kind of like he has been the standard of college basketball in many of his ways, and the standard of basketball in general in the United States as the coach who led the national team and really set the standard for the team that even made it difficult for people like Coach Pop to follow. And so his impact on even this generation of stars who have come up through U.S. basketball, he's going to be impacted. And this has come from somebody who was a fan of the Michigan Wolverines. This has come from somebody who works at with the Badgers and had to watch them games in the Final Four against Duke and watched them and had to be in those battles. But I've respected him. I was an early Duke fan in a sense when he at the time when he was battling. People remember like there were times when folks was questioning whether or not he's going to keep his job. They were making it to Elite Eights. They couldn't make they get to a Final Four. They couldn't break through, and it was a question of could he coach and win the big game. Like that is such a distant memory when you look at where he's at right now. And so it's going to be a big moment. Darnell, I'd like to get your perspective. In terms of how you look at his career, what his impact has been on basketball. I know you and I are seeing this through different generational lenses, so it's really interesting to see how your generation views Coach K.
well, I see Coach K obviously for his career at Duke, but the biggest impact for me as a fan of basketball is his impact on the Olympic game because the Redeem team in '08, Coach K being the leader of that with um, Team USA losing in 2004. Basketball is America's game. I mean, compared to the rest of the country, especially compared to the rest of the world, the United States should never lose in Olympic Games in basketball. But when he came in and what he did with that 2018 brought all the stars back, and built a team. It's not enough just to have the stars play. It's about building a cohesive team that can play together with those stars. Because if you look back at the 2014, it's not that they didn't have players that could win. I mean, they had stars. They had a lot of talent. Like Tim Duncan was on the team, wasn't he? Like,
Yeah,
wasn't Allen Iverson on the team? I
yeah.
mean, like,
I believe LeBron, what LeBron and
Melo.
Melo were on the team. Young
But
cats. That yeah,
they're rookies, but
yeah,
they're still LeBron and Melo. They shouldn't
yeah,
lose. I
yeah,
mean, you got Marbury's on that team. You have like
yeah.
so many talented players, but you got to get those players to fit. And that's one thing that Coach K was able to do. He's a great coach. Um, you had that team, the '08 team,
Well,
which
let's hit that point you did because that team was coached by another great coach. Coach Brown played the
yeah,
right way, right? At the time when the Pistons were hot. But that transition from Brown to K reminded us of the way in which coaches had to be more sophisticated in their ability to get players to sacrifice. They had to think differently around that. And Coach K, I think, had been making that transition because you were seeing that happen in the college game. And so to bring him in, he brought in a different type of approach and philosophy and a partnership, right? He, getting people like Kobe and others and sacrificing, getting Kobe to believe, to understand, one of the greatest scorers of all time, but also a great defender. We need you to be that person, right? And getting everybody, but the way in which he had to do it was different. Like as if Coach K might have been coaching that team, you might have seen LeBron and Carmelo more on the floor. One of the frustrations that LeBron and Melo had was that they knew they should have been contributing, but Brown had that you got to wait your turn, right? That old philosophy. And Coach K kind of brought this thing in a sense that how is everyone going to contribute to this? But that change in coaching philosophy from 2004 to the way they even had to recruit to do 2008. So I went to like that was a change
Yeah,
in even philosophy.
and the biggest thing with that is the buy-in from Kobe.
Yep.
Like when you have since 2008, like
Yep.
Kobe's the biggest star in the game at that point. And when he really buys into the system and buys into the culture,
Yep.
if you D Wade and the rest of them, you gotta follow.
Yep.
They look up to Kobe as well, and that's what really it's Coach K and Kobe as well that really set that culture for Team USA to go on to. And now it's passed on even to Kevin Durant. That he's more the leader nowadays, but Coach K really started that.
Well, what's also interesting is, as we're pointing out, as we reflect on Coach K, is his ability to adapt, right? It's the irony is we called him in 2008. He started his career out, I believe, in Army. We felt like we had to
Yeah,
call in the 4-star general. We're like, hey, but he was coming he's like, we got to do this differently. But he's adapted to all the changes in college sports, right? He's
yeah,
adapted. He was confronted by the Fab Five, but he saw that was the future. Right? He was confronted by the Fab Five, and he had to then understand how much the game was changing. And you would
yeah.
have never thought of Duke as a one and done institution back then.
Oh
And
yeah,
they even struggled, right, in that sense. And
yeah. He
Kentucky
was
was the other side, and he flipped it, right?
yeah. That was the point I was going to say was that
Yeah.
he was the guy that if we're talking about from a college basketball perspective, like before Coach Calipari was running the game in the early 2010s. He was Coach K was the guy that was resistant to the one and done movement. Like they were more of the we want the John Shires and Kyle Singlers of the world, Nolan Smith. Those guys are going to stay for 4 years, but then he ended up adapting to now recruiting the Zion Williamsons, the Kyrie Irvings, the Jason Tatum's that you already know they're only going to be there for that 1 year.
Hmm. And so this the idea of you have to be adaptive, even having an influence as would be prior to the whole legislative switch to the NIL and also the confront of the reality of the court systems and image and likeness. Being on the forefront, bringing together all the coaches along with others to say, hey, how can we get out in front of this game? And so his adaptability. As you look at this, who do you see as that upcoming voice or potential future? I mean, it's hard to say who could be another Coach K. It's hard to say who could be another John Thompson. It's hard to say who could be those type of players. But who do you see coming up in the coaching ranks? I was trying to think about that. That is in that kind of space. Coach K was early in his career and could become that person over the next 10 to 15 years. The person that kind of came to mind because he used to be on my early can't trust it list, and it's kind of turned the corner and getting there is Jay Wright. In a sense of his ability to connect, and he's kind of still in that. I try to get players for 4 years. That's kind of been the Villanova thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even in this, he don't have as many one and dones. He's an interesting, person that might be in that, that next generation.
Yeah, yeah,
Who would you put?
my answer is Mark Few because he's built his program in his own really
He is bet. Yeah, you're right. I think he's a great
yeah
example of that. He didn't move.
yeah
He stayed there and
in his
built it.
own yeah he built his program in his own demographic, his own like area of the country where he can, and he also has the system. Like
Mm-hmm.
he already has the way that he wants to do things already set in place. He's starting to recruit. He's starting to get those top recruits to come to Gonzaga and come to Washington. So I
Mm-hmm.
think he can build that thing where in 10, 15 years you're going to look back and look at the success that he's had over those years.
You think my guy down at Baylor gonna be doing that?
He's already starting to.
He's already started, right?
You got Keontae George. You have plenty of top recruits starting to come down to Baylor, Texas. Like um, just because you have a Coach K that sets the standard, but there's going to be the other coaches there that are doing well as well. You got your Bill Selfs, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying,
Yeah.
Roy Williams. They're coaches that are going to build their resumes for themselves because you're going to have Mark Few, but you're also going to have Jay Wright. You're going to have Juwan Howard. You're
Yeah.
going to have Chris Beard. There's other coaches that are
Mm-hmm.
going to be in the landscape of college basketball for the next 10 years or so that are going to have a lot of success in the game, I believe.
All right. Well, we gonna all be watching. I mean, the one thing is ESPN love them some Duke. They gonna overdo it. Now, I'm trying to show love for Coach K, but don't make me sick. Now, don't make me throw up in my mouth. Now, don't be doing that. On the block, we keep it real. I love Coach K, but you know, don't get me back to my Fab Five moments. Don't let me, and I will say this. I remember being in the Final Four when it was in Minneapolis when Michigan was there. Everybody was cool. The Cincinnati players were cool. Nick Van Exel, all them cats was cool. Obviously, the Michigan players was cool. Boy, them Duke cats was walking around like, I don't know. Hurley them didn't want to talk to nobody, all this other stuff. So I'm just going to say, what I do like is that he's got some, I saw them again in Maui when Zion them came. Them young folks was cool. They was all great. They was all engaging. Great folks to connect with there. So, but the ESPN don't overdo it. Don't test my nerves out here. I'm gonna give you this day, as they say, give you this day my daily bread. But I ain't gonna go much after this. After this, I gotta go back to who I am. Uh, I do. I will have one good story. Bo Ryan, like Bo ain't gonna let you come in his house at all. So one of the things about Coach K everybody always criticized that he got home calls on the road. So they come to Wisconsin, and that's when Wisconsin had Decker, and they got a squad, right? He come, and then that's the season when they end up meeting Wisconsin, I believe in the finals later that year. um, and I think Allen was a freshman that year, and so Coach K's in the Kohl Center, doing this Coach K thing, trying to get his calls. And Bo Ryan saw what was happening. Bo was like having none of it. He was on the referees. Wisconsin goes on to get him. But what I noticed in that game was Coach K was playing for the future. He kept his young guys in. He pushed more time. He gave them exposure in that arena that ended up paying off for him later in the year. When he had a freshman point guard. At the time, was it Tyus was the point guard maybe of that team? I'm trying to think. I always get
Well,
the
2015,
yeah.
it was Tyus Jones was the point guard.
Yeah, so Tyus was a freshman, and Tyus, but it was through those kind of games that he starts cooking in the final game, right? He is
Mm-hmm.
doing his thing, but that his ability to do that, his ability for Grace, for Allen to
Grayson Allen,
perform,
yeah.
was in those early games and exposure that he was just leaning in, and a lot of coaches play scared like that. I think Izzo does a really good job of that, of giving people them early months, October, November, December, all built up and taking some of those lumps early because it's going to pay off late. But that was funny.
And,
Bo Ryan was having none of it.
yeah.
He was
and
like,
another piece, and another young piece to that, one other big young piece of that team was Justice Winslow.
yep, yep,
Yeah, he was things he was able to do as a
yeah,
freshman as
yeah.
well with that
Man,
team.
child.
Yeah, he was talking about he was going to be the next James Harden. I was like,
Yeah,
he's left-handed, he's built stocky, but he ain't no James Hart, but
Yeah, he was like grand opening, grand closing. Some people just can't go to that next level. Grand opening, grand closing. All right, we got combine life, and I know you've been paying attention. You've been our eyes and ears on the streets. One thing that you and I talked about off air a little bit was the speed of some of these linemen that we are seeing in the combine. It's like you got some cats who are just showing up and showing out on this combine side big time. But you know, are you how impressed have you been of these what these linemen are doing? It's just like the evolution of these big guys, the way they train. You know, some of these cats. I
the
remember
way
one of
they
my
look,
the way they look. You know, and I used to say early on, one of my good friends, you know, we won state championship in Michigan in high school, and our two offensive tackles, well, my junior year and then our senior offensive tackles, who I graduated with, both of them would come and hoop with us. They would hoop, they could play, boom. But you know, they both were like one was 6'3", one was 6'5". And early on, I was like, wow, you know, these guys. It was a reason why you could do so much with them, because they were, you know, playing multiple sports and size. Like that's what you see it today, even more so. In the body and the build. So talk to me a little about what you're seeing with these offensive linemen.
shoot, like you, like you hit the nail on the head. It's like the athleticism that you see from these guys. Like Trevor Penning, he ran a 4.9, 4.93, 4.91, something like that. And I heard like this dude can do a windmill. Like man, you don't see offensive tackles like that that can do these kinds of athletic feats. You
Mm-hmm.
saw guys like Ike Ekwonu, um, just just showed yeah he's a physical freak all the way around. Like you don't know who's gonna like. I know Evan Neal is number one offensive tackle, consistent, but you know you're not gonna you're not gonna go wrong with any of the offensive tackles in the top five. I mean, you got Charles Cross in there, another super athlete. He ran 4.9 as well, 4.91, 4.9, something like that, 4.93, I think it was. But yeah, you have especially at that offensive line, like the offensive linemen today, like you said, they're built differently, they look differently, they run differently. It's crazy. And the biggest winner from the offensive line group didn't even work out. Did you see Evan Neal? Did you see Evan Neal at the podium talking and giving an interview?
You sent it
There,
to me. I didn't get a chance to do it. You know, that's why they
there
call
is
us real sports guys because we
there
working.
is no way in the world this dude is 337 pounds. You look at this dude; he looked like a tight end. I know he's gonna blow it up at his pro day. He's not working out at the combine, but dang man, Duke Manyweather is doing something. He got his own separate lab. Like he's the mad scientist, I guess, down his lab over there, getting these guys ready for the combine. Because if you think about it, he worked with he was working with Charles Cross, he was working with Trevor Penning, he was working with Evan Neal, and all these guys. You can like the Bible says, you shall know the tree by the fruit that it bears, and that tree is fruitful. And like man, like Evan Neal during the season, they said he was like 350, like in the 350 range, and now they got him down to 337. And you saw how athletic he was, like on tape. Yeah, I can only imagine the type of athlete he is right now. Like this dude, like this is why American boxing is suffering. Because can you imagine Evan Neal growing up as a child boxing and fighting Tyson Fury or somebody? Like this is why American boxing is like at the heavyweight level isn't the same as it is at the lighter levels because we have great athletes that are doing other things like Evan Neal, Ike Ekwonu, Trevor Penning. Like these dudes are amazing athletes, and the combine was just a place where they can all like showcase
Yeah, you have 12 offensive linemen who had sub 540s.
it.
Like that
Ridiculous.
is amazing. Going down as low as 4.88. I mean, some of these guys are running faster than some of the running backs. Top prospects we're looking at running backs or medium prospects. So I mean, they are running running backs, and so you wonder why offensive like this is where offensive coordinators are drooling because there's so much you can do. Guys can Now the question is, there's difference between speed and quickness, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
difference between, but they're also quick. So you're going to see with some of these other drills, they're demonstrating this great level of quickness, and so you see, and they gotta be that way when we'll see today the defensive linemen, because the people they're going up against, you know, a
A
lot of
whole
times when,
different animals.
yeah, a lot of times when you see some of these linemen struggle, is they struggle because they don't have the footwork. They struggle, and offensive coordinators need to be at flexibility to, maybe they're trying to pull a trap, and the old counter trades back in the day and all the other things that you could do. But there's ways that they can get to people and use different types of blocking schemes, because these linemen can get to places that they weren't able to get to in ways. And you need that, given the way these defensive linemen are getting to the next level, and these edge rushers and all this other stuff. So this combination of speed and quickness and ability to get downfield and all these different that athleticism, allows these offensive linemen these offensive coordinators to really think differently about how they want to run this game. Given how the defensive side of the ball, those cats just continue to be freakish even more and more. So we're gonna learn a lot about them today in the combine as well. So the one thing I said about this off the line, because look, I told people the youngin is the up and coming in a lot of aspects of sports. When it comes down to, he's a combine junkie and he gonna give us. But I said this is the lying Olympics, because everybody gonna lie about something in this. That you gonna give you one element, and then you gonna miss the other piece.
But
So they gonna
this is where the truth come out though, because you can lie in the pro day, you can lie on the measurements and all that kind of stuff. But when you get to the combine, it's that black light gonna show, like you in the club. You know what I'm saying? The black light just show all the lit. They can show all the lit that's on you. It's what comes on at the combine. Because and on a lot of rosters, you got guys. Okay, they say, okay, this dude, he's listed at 6'3". He is 210, right? You go to the combine. Okay, we get his official measurement. This dude is 6'1" and 7/8". They go all the way. They go specific with it. They be like 197. You know what I'm saying? Like then you gotta, then like I call the combine the underwear Olympics, because at the same time I'll be like, man, this a lot of this stuff doesn't really translate to football, but at the same time, um, one thing the combine is like useful for is you can rule out things. You have to use the combine in conjunction with the film. That's my thing. I don't want you to only use the combine. I don't hate the combine. I just don't want you to only use the combine and not take into account the film, because this is where you can like kind of rule out things. Like if you have a guy that like a slot guy, like a really quick. He's known for being fast. Like he's a burner. Like um who was the guy the Rams drafted last year? Tutu Atwell. Like somebody like that. Like if he's known for being a speedster, and then we get to the 40 and he run like a high 4.5s or maybe like a low 4.6. Now you're like, might got to take him off my board. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's really where I'm at with it. But
Yeah, but that's if everybody checks the boxes and does all the stuff. You got people who come who just interview. You got people who come who lift but don't run. Right?
hmm
Before the combine, you did it. You came and did it all. Then the players got sophisticated. Like, what parts of this we want to show you here? What parts are we going to show you at the pro day? Because I need 2 more weeks to get to a
right,
certain point. It's
like
almost
Malik Willis.
like it's almost like in boxing. I just got to get to the weight, and then
Yep.
after that, I'm going to eat all these dang snacks. So I
But
gotta
like,
give you what I'm gonna get you in that moment,
mhm.
right?
Yeah, but like it is with Malik Willis. Like he's already known as the elusive quarterback. He can run when things
Mm-hmm.
break down. He can make something happen. So if he know he not running sub four, if he know he not running a 4.5 or lower, he's not running the combine, right? Because you see Desmond Ritter, he ran a 4.49.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't know he had that in his arsenal. Like he could be a real like dual threat guy. But on the other end of that, if you Malik Willis and you already have the reputation, you can't go out there and run like a worst time or something like that. So you just keep that in. I'll do the other stuff, but I'll save the 40 for my pro day where I can, you know, we got our guys timing it, and we'll say, okay, he ran a 4.51. Okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's all that is all set up. But at the end of the day, when the lights come on, at some point the truth will set you free. At some
yeah.
point, you either gonna show you gonna play
Mm-hmm.
or not. Whether it's the you hopefully you can learn something before you draft them, but it will show when they start bringing the rookies to camp.
Yeah.
It'll start to show in the summer sessions. Something's gonna start to how do you compete under the pressure of fast paced practices where we got to go because people got to pay their mortgage. We ain't got time for you to figure this out. Yeah. So to the this is where those GMs, those player personnel departments, those interviews with folks outside, you know, this is where I like watching those that draft day movie kind of get me refocused on what's going on.
So,
Uh, uh, you
what do
know,
you think about the unofficial times? Like, there's times that you see on TV,
mhm.
and then you see the official time. You're like, man, that was way off. Like, why'd you tease me like that? Like, especially like when we watched the wide receivers run, and they said Chris Olave ran. He was bugging it. You see, saw him on TV. He was moving, and the official time said 4.26. And I'm like, and for a whole like 20 minutes or so, the whole world is like, wait a minute. Chris Olave ran a 4.26. Like, we watched this film. This dude's probably the best route runner in the draft. If this dude, because on film, we can see he's fast, but not 4.2. Like 4.26 is like Tyreek Hill. So like, if you had for a second, you're like, Olave runs a 4.26. How is he not anybody's wide receiver one? So like,
Yeah.
and then you get that realization. Okay, it's a 4.39. Okay, that makes a lot
That's
more
still
sense.
fast.
Yeah, that's definitely fast. Like,
Yeah.
if, a lot of guys we watch all this combine stuff on TV, but how many guys listen? How many guys listening to this have seen a 4.5 in person? Like a 4.5 in person is probably the fastest guy you've seen,
Hmm.
unless so you've been to an NFL game, you've been to a college football game. But in high school, a 4.5 is blazing. So that's just to put things into perspective.
Yeah, yeah. When you see somebody, even in my high school team, we had some fast people. You see somebody like a Cedric Gordon or somebody like that who roller, you like, okay, that's fast. I ran like a 4.7 in high school. That's when a little bit low, a little lighter at linebacker, but you know, it took a lot to get to that point. So I can imagine somebody. I would probably get a headache trying to run. If I was running a 4.3, I'd get scared of myself running that fast. I would have to put a parachute in my back to make sure I was slowing down. But yeah, I love that. We will have to make a road trip to the combine. Maybe that's one of our bucket list things. You and I got to put together a bucket list for the block, and maybe we got the summer league, we got the combine. We got to put together a little bucket list and try to, you know. Uh, Click those things and try to check them off the box a little bit so we can see it up close in person. But I think a lot of unofficials, everybody's up there with a little watch, right?
Yeah.
Trying to do their little thing so they could get quickly to the get it out to the world through their lens because everybody wants to be first. So that's kind of what world we live in. But the key is that you and Hammer were debating about Olave, and you were right. Like now you talk about a guy who's a great route runner. He also runs a 4.3. Like to me, that's a double whammy. When you first, if you're a great route runner, and then on top of it, you got the speed. You're right. He's got to be at the top of somebody's board. So that's why people are lying. Well, I'm not sure if he could do that, but he gonna get picked quick.
Yeah.
They're gonna pick him quick. You're like, well, he went higher than we expected. Oh, I knew he. Everybody was lying because they were trying to keep him off their board. They were trying to do the misdirection. But when you run the kind of routes he runs and you run that fast, he ain't gonna stay on there long.
And you're gonna see that. And you're gonna see that today with
Yep.
Kayvon Thibodeau. Everybody
Yep.
been talking noise about he gonna drop. He dropping out of the top 5. He might drop out of the top 10. Wait till you see him today. Kayvon Thibodeau is a freak. Like this dude, this dude, like you gonna get done with today and be like, man, shoot, I gotta rethink. I gotta rethink this Aiden Hutchinson versus Kayvon Thibodeau thing. Like, I'm a big Hutchinson fan
Mhm.
because if you remember, well, I didn't say it on the show. We did in the text chain before the Ohio State Michigan game. I was saying I'd take Aiden Hutchinson over Kayvon Thibodeau before Mel Kiper and all them said that.
Mhm.
But I went back and watched some Kayvon Thibodeau, man, and man, somebody gonna be happy. Some
Ah,
GM will be happy with that.
ooh. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. We got to put together kind of your draft preview. I mean, we've been trying to think about ways to do it outside of the normal delivery of the content that people do with draft boards and stuff like that. So we're in the lab a little bit, as well as we'll be having the RSG Tourney Challenge will be out here in a minute. We working. I'm in the lab, seeing the way it works. Can you outdo the RSG cats? Last year, Hammer held it down for us, got that number one spot, so everything had to hold over a little bit. So we're gonna see who can get there because we got, as you can see from the youngin, we got plenty of talent on the crew. So if y'all think y'all better than us, y'all think y'all can get more right, we'll see if y'all can do that. But that'll be coming out here soon because this field is wide open. There's probably about 6 or 7 teams. Auburn just sealed a share of the SEC. They've been lurking back there. You got the Zags been lurking, Duke been lurking. Kentucky is doing their little thing. People, Purdue is doing their thing. Now they got the can't trust it coach of all time over there in Purdue with Painter. We're gonna have to do our can't trust it list here pretty soon. But he's on that list. He cost a lot of people. They cost a lot of people money because you look at like Purdue. I don't know if they bought stock in 7 footers, 7'2" guys. But I don't know if I've watched a Purdue team in the last 20 years that didn't have somebody who was over 7'1" on the roster, or two of them. It seems like every time you turn around, they find a 7'2" guy or 7'1" guy on or a 7'3" guy on. I don't know where Painter finds all them 7'6", 7'4", seven
Mm-hmm.
three guys, but they got some players. So we're gonna see. Wisconsin making their move here late in the year. So there's a lot out there. So this tourney challenge could be wide open. But we ready for y'all. So we'll be putting that out there on the block. We'll be putting it on RSG1 Mike. Please go to realsportsguys.com to look at that. Any final thoughts about things that you wanted to really hit in on? I know there's a couple other things we want to talk before we close down shop. What else you have on your mind?
Man, that's really it for me, to
Yep.
be honest with you. But
Yep.
if I gotta come up with another thing, you know, what's going on with this New York mandate with Kyrie because now they're talking about they're going to drop the vaccine mandate. They said they're going to drop the vaccine mandate probably around March 7th, and then but even when they drop the New York mandate, he still can't play because I guess there's a private sector clause that they won't drop because he said because Mayor Adams says that he can't change the rule for one person because that sends a bad message.
To me,
He,
it's like if you're going to drop it, you drop it for everybody. Why is there a private sector clause? Like just drop. I mean, at this point, drop all the clauses. Like it doesn't. I don't understand. And every time I listen to Mayor Adams, it's like he in the club, brother. If you in the club, you missing all the music and the beats. It's like you are missing. You're not reading it. If you're gonna drop it, drop it. Like why create this fallacy where the more mobile you are, the more likely you are to spread. So all these people coming into town from wherever they come into town can come in and don't have to have the vaccine or do any of that stuff. Yet, someone who is right here, can't do it. Like none of it adds up with the science. So you got to do stuff that adds up with the science. So I don't understand. I mean, New York is New York, man. In New York, sometimes you like this is where I get with hammer on these coastal elites sometimes on this piece because it's like you want to outthink the room. Like nobody else is thinking this right now, so you want to outthink the room. So I struggle with all this and everything. I got a lot of problems with Kyrie in terms of his own personal commitment. That's between him and KD. There is a commitment to your team along with the health and wellness, but there's a commitment to these cats. They all made a sacrifice to do this. Yet you do what you want to do. So there's a whole other side of that. But from New York side, look, if you're gonna drop it, drop it. What's the private like New York always has to throw like a extra bow in it. It's like y'all stop outthinking the room. So I don't know. I'm a little frustrated because I got Kyrie on my fantasy team and I could win if he plays all the games. So I'm gonna put that out there. But at the same time, this is crazy. This is New York. Something that should just be simple math. They making it calculus. I don't understand it, man. I can't even understand the purpose of the clause. It just none of it makes sense. So it's as if Kyrie made him mad about something. Did Kyrie come to him and say something to him? It's almost like he finding ways just to. I don't understand it. I don't understand it, brother. You just got elected. You want to get elected again, don't you? Like, what we doing? So I'm with you on that one, man. We'll see. We'll see what's happening. But I will say this: it looks like Philly winning.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to say is I am on the Charles Barkley train. I ain't even gonna call that team that name in LA. That team. I might adopt that team movement because what I saw on that court against the Clippers, and I'm not even and I'm a Pistons fan and I take joy because there's too many Laker fans in the Midwest as if they lived in LA. And I know a lot of that had to do with Magic and everything else. My brother's a Laker fan, and so we see that all the time. All these Laker fans in the barbershop, and all this stuff. And so sometimes it's just nauseating. So I won't say that's the last time I'll say that name. But that team over there, to the point where Shaq had to say they're not even mad. I mean, I just can't. I mean, I will say this. I've never seen a coach hoping to get fired as much as their coach is hoping to get fired. I mean, the look on his face is like, just put me out of my misery. Because y'all created this stuff and now I got to deal with it. I don't even see a pathway out. The only pathway out I would probably see for them is they just got to play the young guys. They got to play the Malik Monks. They got to play the guys. They got to mix it in with LeBron. They just got to get more athletic with whoever they got on their bench and get some of these older cats to accept their role. That's the only way I could see them having a way out. But I'm with Barkley. I don't know if I need to call them by their name. We just got to call them that team in LA,
No, so
because
you taking a page out of Jim Trussell's book, that team out west.
that team out west. That's what we gonna have to do because I have never. Have you ever watched a game and just wanted to look away? This is the second time
Yeah.
this in the last week I've watched them play. I couldn't watch it. I had to close one eye and open one eye. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I felt so bad for the coaching staff, the fans. Like, what is this product? Again, and then on the other bitch, in all the ex players you had, I see Zubac over there. You traded him away. I see all these young players around the league. You trade them away because you want to get these veterans. These movements to veterans and no mix of youth, I got to bring that on LeBron. Kuzma should still be there, and y'all would be in a different position. But y'all couldn't manage them
Caruso should
youngins.
still be
Huh?
there. So Caruso should still be there.
Caruso should be there. Y'all couldn't manage it. Like, no foresight in that you have to mix youth and stuff like that. And so, yeah, that team, I'm on that bark. Like, stop showing them. Like, y'all should cancel the game tonight. Y'all should put somebody else on. Y'all should put a Disney movie on. Y'all should do something else. Nobody wants to watch that junk. So that's what they saying on the block. That's what they say in their barbershop. We just letting y'all know that now. We are in agreement, and as much as I can remember it, I'm gonna say that team until they show that they can do something else, because it is not a product we should be watching. All right, well, that's good for us. For my man Darnell Kirkland, this is DeVon Wilson. Thank you for hanging with us here on the block.